Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. Today we're looking at a new Shaco build I discovered when I recently started playing Shaco support. I was trying out different things, and when I ended up with something I liked, I realized that it's a complete blue build. And as we all know, the color blue increases your win rate by at least 5%, so I was pretty stoked about it. Before we get into the review/guide, I want to mention two things. First off, I play Shaco for fun, and I like trying out things, so if you disagree with something or have better ideas, tell me in the comments below without screaming at me. And second, this build can be played top lane, mid lane and support, but I feel like support is the best place to play and utilize this build. As for top and mid, I will be making separate videos with different itemization. Now that that's said, let's get started. The first thing you have to decide before jumping into a game is which summoner you take. These are my three variations. First, teleport, ignite. I take this if I feel like I need to help other lanes and if I can handle my own lane enough. Second, exhaust, ignite. This is the extreme combat pack. If you put this on the enemy AD carry, your AD carry will have the easiest time dueling him. So I take this when I feel like we need some more dueling power. Last is my most used summoners, Flash and Ignite. It's extremely safe and you can make some spicy plays as well. So if you're not sure what to take, this is what I recommend. Let's talk about laning phase. Your early playstyle should be very passive, stacking up Illuminati boxes behind you and your AD carry, warding bushes to protect yourself from the mean junglers. A neat little tip is to always have boxes on the entrances where the jungler gets to your lane. This buys you and your AD carry so much time when someone ganks that most of the time you'll be able to get away safely. There are several ways of trading with your opponents. You can poke the enemy with your E, which isn't that useful because of the execute damage. You can do the old classic and lure them into your boxes. The easiest way of achieving this is by getting low. But watch out, especially early. Remember that your Q invisibility has been nerfed. This strategy can easily lead to triple kills when the jungler enters the trap as well. The last way is pretty cocky and best when you're already a little ahead and comfortable. It's to jump behind the enemy line, place a box behind them, blocking their escape path, then you backstab the target you're focusing and punch them as often as you can. This works surprisingly often and is why I love lane Shaco. If you get ahead, you can do this over and over and snowball into infinity. Other things to look out for are invading the enemy jungle and ganking other lanes. When your AD carry needs to go back because he's low health or he's just comfortably farming near to the tower, you can make the decision to travel to another lane, either by teleport if you have chosen to pick it or by foot. When ganking the lanes, make sure to ping first, as they are probably not expecting a Shaco support to gank. Then you just jump behind the enemy, just like when trading. Invading can be really effective as well, and it's not really punishing if you level up your Q a lot. I wouldn't recommend going into the enemy jungle before at least reaching 3 seconds invisibility on your Q, because if that's not the case, there's a big chance you get caught and that wouldn't be favorable. If you warded the jungle enough, you can predict where the jungler will walk next and set up a surprise trap. Combined with Ignite, this often leads to a kill. Another important subject is your ult and how to use it effectively. When trading, you should always position your clone that way that it functions as a meat shield for you and your AD carry, especially against enemy with skill shots. Always keep your clone on the enemy. Before the explosion, try to position him behind the enemies. The passive needs a little to activate, so if it explodes exactly on them, there's a high chance they'll just walk away. Also, you shouldn't walk it on a tower if you want to make use of the passive, cause the tower one-shots the boxes before they can even fear. When trying to kill a low enemy, you should walk him under the tower of course to kill them with the explosion. My skill order is to either skill up Q until it's 3 seconds invisibility and then max W, or if I'm feeling safe, I put more points into W from the start on already, but I always like to get at least 1 point on all abilities. There's some more things to laning like warding and items that help you when trading and fighting, but we'll get to that when we're talking about the items. Before we get to that, we have to talk about team fighting and late game though. Your job is to set up fights. That means to put traps all over the lane the fight is gonna happen on, to box up entrances on the lane for your teammates to escape or to stop enemies who are trying to be sneaky. Other than that, try bursting squishies and confuse the enemy team with your clone. The triangle box passive can turn around fights quickly, especially hectic skirmishes. I've noticed a lot of people don't destroy the boxes right away. That's probably because they're smaller and a little hard to click on right away in a hectic fight. So a lot of times you get off a nice fear. When you're ahead enough, you can pick out of position squishies as well. Let's now move over to my favorite section, the build. Starting off with a Spell Thief Edge and a refillable potion. If you feel like it, you can skill up your E first to poke and get the gold, but that's pretty cocky and you won't be able to set up traps behind you. So I mostly get W first, followed by Q. On my first spec, I get a Corrupting Potion, which gives you great sustain and more dual power. At this point, there's a lot of possibilities on what to build next. So I will list the items first and then talk about the order and parts to buy in what situation. First option would be the Hextech GLP. Now let me elaborate on this buy. To the item itself, I like the mixed stats and also the first passive that gives you mana when you take damage and gives you back health when you use mana. The active spray doesn't do much damage, but the slow can be really effective when trying to enable a box sphere. For example, slowing them exactly enough so the box is still in range. The spray is big enough to slow the whole enemy team when they're clutched, which is a big help for you and your team when chasing. Other items I've tried instead of this were Morolonicums. The passive and cooldown worked really nicely too, but other arguments than it's not blue to not buy this item compared to GLP are that you're way squishier and you don't get the passive, so you have to decide what you want. But both items are definitely good. I just like this playstyle. It's probably a little more passive this way, and you can protect your AD carry a little better. Next possibility is Frost Queen's Claim or Eye of the Watcher. Building out Eye of the Watcher will put Sightstone into a finished item, so you can ward up a lot. But then you won't get the active utility of Frost Queens, which makes you extremely sticky. So you have to decide what you need in what situation. My last core item is Iceborne Gauntlet. I've already said it in my other guide, I love this item. It makes you tanky, gives you sheen, slows the enemy, and on top of all that, it's blue. Before going over the last items to buy, I will now talk about the build order. After your first packs, it depends if you're ahead or will be playing a little more passive. This will determine if you buy a Hextech Revolver or a Catalyst of Aeons. Now when ahead, after Revolver you can go for a Sheen as well for max dual power. If not, another passive option is getting Frostfang, which gets you more gold for poking and trading. The last item to consider is Sightstone. Now when placing boxes right and buying a lot of control wards, you can secure your lane pretty well, but sometimes that's not enough and later on you might want to ward the river and the enemy jungle. Then this is your option. Build it whenever you feel the need to. As for building out these items, I usually go for GLP first, then Gauntlet followed by Frost Queen's Claim or Eye of the Watcher. I only sometimes get Frost Queens before Gauntlet when I need to catch out people a lot. I hope you understood all that. I also put my normal build order on the screen, but if you're still having problems understanding, be sure to ask me in the comments below. A very experimental item that I've tried out a couple of times is Knight's Vow. I feel like the nice little passive and the stats are not really worth to get on him, but I definitely will try it out more, maybe on a more tank heavy Shaco build. My last two blue items are Luden's Echo, which gives us more burst, some nice movement speed, and Sonya's, which is nice for dodging skill shots or maybe a Karthus ult, and also when running away to get you some time to maybe be able to Q again and get out safely. I really like the playstyle of this build. It's definitely a little more teamfight and supporty, but still has some burst to it, and it's also so much fun to use all the actives and passives. Tell me your experience with this build in the comments if you happen to try it out. Now moving over to the masteries. I'll be going for Double-Edged Sword in the Ferocity tree and Thunderlords in the Cunning tree. The changes to my normal masteries are some more support-like things, like Bandit, which gives you passive gold, and Intelligence to get some more cooldown reduction. Runes I've changed up a little bit from my normal ones as well, going for 9 attack damage marks, 9 ability power seals, 9 cooldown reduction glyphs and 3 ability power quints. If you have seen my last guide, you know that I changed the glyphs from AP to cooldown. So with Iceborne Gauntlet, Frost Queen's Claim, the masteries and runes we have 42.5, which is nice for sitting on teamfights with traps faster and overall getting clone quicker and getting to safety with your Q as well. This marks the end of my guide. There's so many more possibilities on how to play Shaco. I enjoy playing this one a whole lot. It's extremely nichey and just fun overall. Give me all your thoughts and ideas for new builds, videos, or whatever is on your mind in the comments below without any aggression. Thank you very much. My stream and Twitter is in the description below if you want to check these out. I hope you're having an amazing day. See ya.